Welcome to the introduction to creating quick display containers and buttons in Display Studio. Follow along on screen or with your own Daktronics equipment as we demonstrate the quick display functionality. Quick display containers are a great way to show a playlist of content on a system with a single display. To begin, a quick display container must be created on a page in the Display Studio workspace. To do this, right-click in the gray area of a page and choose New, Quick Display Container. Select the window in which to play the content. It's important to remember that quick display containers can only play content to one window per container. If you need a button that controls multiple signs or windows in your system, it will require multiple quick display containers. After choosing the display window, there are basic settings that can be changed. The Visible Thumbnails box reveals a thumbnail image for each button in the container. Selecting Immediate Play will immediately start the content when clicked, rather than have the content be added to the end of the queue. The DMP8000 has the option to clear queue on play. When selecting this option, the Immediate Play option will automatically be selected. This will add the file from the button you selected to the top of the queue and clear the other files in the queue. The Play Mode option selects the default playback mode for buttons created in this container. Options include having the content play continuously or play a set number of times. Some systems may include the ability to play only a selected frame and play in a single-step mode. If content has already been added to a library or folder on your display controller, and you wish to make a button automatically for each file in that library, click the Link to Library button and choose the library folder. Note that if you choose to link the container to a library, you will be unable to add buttons manually to that container. When finished, click Save. To expand the container to fill the page, click the white rectangle in the top right corner of the container. Now that the quick display container has been set up, buttons can be created. To create a button, right-click within the quick display container and select New Button. To select one file or multiple files, click the Add button, and a file browser window will open. Select the file or files to be added to the button. To select multiple files, hold down the Control key while clicking the files, then click Open. To change the order of the playlist, files can be drag and dropped to the desired order. The Insert button can be used to insert a file above the selected file. Proceed to the next step by clicking the green and white button. The left and right arrow buttons above the Add button may also be used to move between steps. If more than one file was selected in the previous step, the second step determines the type of playlist the button will activate. This will control the manner in which the playlist is added to the queue. Normal Playlist adds all of the files in the playlist to the queue in the order that they appear on the playlist. Shuffle Playlist adds all files in the playlist to the queue in a shuffled order. Next Playlist adds one media file from the playlist at a time to the queue. Clicking the button again adds the next file from the playlist to the queue. This is commonly used where there are multiple media files for a single sponsor. Placing all of the sponsor's files into a next playlist allows the queue to cycle through all the graphics in order to ensure graphics play consecutively. The final playlist option is Random Playlist, which adds one random media file from the playlist at a time to the queue. Note that even though it selects files randomly, the system will ensure that all media files are selected an equal number of times and that no file is played twice in a row. The third step allows a thumbnail image to be set for the button. If multiple files were selected, the first file will provide the thumbnail image. The fourth step selects the play mode. Continuous plays the file on the display until the operator stops the file or advances the queue. Number of times plays the file on the display a specific number of times, then blanks the display, or plays the next file in the queue if there are multiple files. The Selected Frame option plays a defined frame number in the file and Single Step plays the file frame by frame in sequential order. Single Step is often used when displaying song lyrics and allows the user to control when the frame advances. The last step is button color. Using a color is an effective way to categorize buttons within a container. The circular button in the top right corner is immediate play. This will play the file immediately on the display. Leaving this unselected will simply add the content to the end of the queue. The circular button to the left of the immediate play button clears the queue on playback. This is only available with a DMP 8000 player. When enabled, the existing queue list will be cleared and the first file in the button will play immediately. Click Save to finish and create the button. To edit a button once it's been saved, right-click on the button and select Properties. The display queue can be shown or hidden by clicking the letter Q on the right side of the container. This provides a visual list of the items in the queue as well as playback information and controls. Any content that is currently playing will appear in the queue list. The controls are located at the bottom and allow quick access to commonly used functions for managing the queue. Next, which plays the next item in the queue. Pause, which pauses playback of the queue. Stop, which stops the queue and blanks the display. Blank sign, which stops playback of the queue, blanks the display, and clears the queue. Clear queue, which clears the queue but allows the current item to keep playing. And finally, loop, which when enabled will play through items in a queue continuously until stopped or given another command. This concludes the introduction to creating quick display containers and buttons. Continue to other videos to learn more about your Daktronics display control system.